What do you believe about yourself? And where did that belief come from? Beliefs are so vital in shaping our confidence. So, is what you believe about yourself hurting or helping your confidence? That's what we're going to talk about today on this episode of Unleash Your Audacious Confidence. Welcome to Unleash Your Audacious Confidence on Win-Win Women TV. This show is all about sharing the tips, tools, and techniques that will allow you to step boldly in the direction of your dreams despite your feelings, fears, or past failures, to imagine what's possible for yourself and live the life you deserve. Well, hello, and welcome to this episode of Unleash Your Audacious Confidence here on Win-Win Women TV. I'm your host, Alicia Couri, and on today's show, like I said in the little intro piece, we are talking about self-belief. What do you believe about yourself? And I have so much to share on that. But I do want to encourage you to go to winwinwomen.com and check out what other show hosts are doing. Really, really look at that site, because this is the place for you, for all of us women. It's by women, and it's all to help us learn and grow. Now, I started the series about unmasking your secret identity. And this is another part of that because self-belief is a really vital piece in understanding our own identity and being able to kind of peel back some layers. And let me tell you, we all have layers. We have layers and layers and layers. If you've lived 5 minutes, you've already gotten some layers on you. And so I want to start this off today by asking you a question. You know, I heard this question several weeks ago while I was listening to Bob Proctor and Sandy Gallagher. I was listening to their course on the science of getting rich. And I was listening to their course, and they posed this question. And I thought about it. And the question is, if you met you today, would you like you? If you met you, would you like you? Now, if you think about that question, because I thought about that question when they said it, and when I first reflected on it, I thought, yeah, I would like me if I met me today. But I don't know that 10 years ago, 15 years ago, I think I would still like me, but I wouldn't know exactly who I was. Do you understand what I mean? Like, I wouldn't really know who that me was that I was liking. And it's because while I liked me, I didn't always see the real value in me. And that belief hindered my growth. It hindered me from stepping out and doing things. I remember in the mid 90s, when the internet was just kind of getting rolling and people were really getting more and more on the internet. I was doing story writing. Like, I would write these short stories. I was writing children's stories, and I had a friend who read some of my stories, and some of my stories were like, you know, I guess romance, suspenseful romance, or romantic comedies, or that kind of genre. And I was sharing some of my writings with him, and again, this is a guy, right? I was sharing some of my writings with him, and he said, you know, you should start a website, and you should put these stories on your website, and then you should have like where you drip it out to people and they pay you to get the next chapter, or they pay you to get the next, series, or the next book in the series, whatever it is. I thought, I'm gonna do that? I don't know how to do that. What are you nuts? Nobody's gonna want to read anything I wrote. Nobody's gonna like anything I have. That was because I didn't really believe. Like, he read the stories and he thought they were fun and they were great. He's like, oh my God, this is really good. And I heard him say that, but because of my own belief in myself, I did not feel confident enough to do that. I felt like it would be a big flop. It was just going to be a waste of time. And I didn't do it. And I have all those stories somewhere on a hard drive somewhere. You change computers, it's somewhere in some kind of vault somewhere. But the thing about it is, I did not believe enough in myself and in my abilities and in my talent. I loved doing it, but I didn't believe anybody would actually read it, let alone pay for it. And that's one of the results that you can look at to see if your belief in yourself lines up with your confidence. I said, if you met you today, would you like you? Like, I would like me because I was a fun person. I think I would like me, but I would also know that there's something that she's holding back. She's holding back. So it's not whether I'd like me or not. I need to give her a little push because she's holding back for sure. And I remember when my first coach, 12 years ago, she asked a group of us this question. And I'm going to ask you this question too. So 2 questions I'm asking you today. I'm going to ask you this question too. She said, what is the thing that you fear the most? Now, because this was about personal branding, this was about our business, it was in a business context. I remember writing down on a piece of paper that no one will remember me, that I'm forgettable. At the time, my business was in hair and makeup. And I would reach out to photographers after like a wedding or a big event that I did the hair and makeup from. And I was afraid that I would reach out to them and they wouldn't remember who I was. And they wouldn't send me pictures because they wouldn't know who I was. So being forgettable was something that that was my biggest fear. So I want to ask you that. If you could think about what is your biggest fear, think about it and write it down. Doesn't have to be business wise, but what is your biggest fear about yourself and other people? When I thought about why I felt like I was forgettable, it took me back to my childhood of when I was growing up in Australia and I wanted to be unnoticed because I was picked on, I was teased on a lot for the color of my skin, for the way I looked, for the texture of my hair, for the way I spoke, for, pretty much everything about me. I was like, I walked into a room and boom, target, 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 target. So I wanted to blend in. I wanted to be like nobody saw me. I wanted to be invisible. That was the root that now became a fear of mine, that people will forget me, that I was forgettable, like I didn't make an impression on anybody. And I traced it back to that. So this is all about beliefs in yourself. So I became a wallflower and then was afraid of what I had become. I became the thing that then I became afraid of what I had become. Marianne Williamson, she says, that our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine as children do. We were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It is not just in some of us, it is in every one. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. We are liberated from our own fear. Our presence automatically liberates others. So that's from A Return to Love, Reflections on the Principles of A Course in Miracles. It's so powerful for us to understand we manifest our own reality by our beliefs. And so understanding where your identity comes from is so important. Where does that identity of yours actually come from? And what is driving your behavior? So I'm going to try this for the first time. I'm going to put up a graphic behind me so that I can share and talk about it. Boom, it worked. Here we go. So this is something I created because our behaviors, our results, the things that we see, it's like an iceberg. It's just floating on the top. And we see this, what seems to be a massive iceberg is really just like a small portion of the iceberg. The majority of the iceberg is hidden underneath, and that's how we are. So when I talk about unmasking your secret identity, when I talk about self-belief is the key to your confidence, I'm talking about what's happening underneath the surface, that huge iceberg under the surface. So our public persona is what people see. It's our behaviors, it's our reactions, it's how we are, that everybody sees in the world. That is impacted by our mindset, what we believe, whether we have a fixed mindset or a growth mindset. That's a whole different, I think I did a whole series on fixed and growth mindset. So I'll link that in the notes. I'll look for it and I'll put the link to that in the notes. But the next layer is, what do we believe about ourselves? And that usually comes from our parents, our environment, our teachers, the things that were said to us as children. So we have to look into all those things about where did all that belief come from? Where does that actually come from? Like I said, when I grew up in Australia, I wanted to disappear. And then as an adult now, I'm asking, like, why don't people remember me? Because that was the belief that I planted in myself, that I didn't want people to see me. I didn't want to stand out. I know you're looking at me now and you're thinking, that's not possible. It's very possible. I shrunk. I was like, cover myself up, cover me up, don't look at me. Yet I wanted people to notice me and I wanted people to remember me. That is such a, what do they call them? It's such a disconnect, right? It's oh my gosh. There's a term that I'm thinking of. It'll come to me, but it's cognitive dissonance. It's so disconnected. Both beliefs were so disconnected that there was no way for me to actually get what it is I wanted and build confidence around it, because I kept fighting myself. Consciously, I'm like, oh yeah, remember me. But subconsciously, I'm sabotaging that all the time. I hope you get that. So if you have those kind of behaviors that's showing up on the surface, where you're feeling like you want something, but then you're sabotaging yourself, it's because there's a self-belief, there's a belief deep down that either you don't deserve it, or you don't believe in yourself about it because of something someone else said that created that belief for you. So the last one at the bottom is core wounds. So the thing about a core wound, it's something that is buried really, really deep. And it's this need for love. So you feel like you're unlovable. You have this deep, deep, deep belief that you're unlovable and unworthy. I know you can't see. I'm trying to move to the side. It's the need for worthiness and the need for love. And if you feel like you're unlovable, then you'll do anything for someone to love you. And so when you find yourself in bad relationships all the time, it's because you have this need to find love. And if you find that you're devaluing yourself, you're doing things, you're saying you have a certain standard, but then you do things that are against that standard, it's that need for worthiness. You're lacking self-worth. So when you start unraveling, and sometimes it'll take therapy to help unravel some of these things. There are great coaches and therapists out there that can help you unravel some of these core wound issues. I am not an expert in core wounds. I'm just sharing that this is kind of like the underpinning for a lot of this behavior that we see on top, is this self-belief and these core wounds that's driving the ship that we don't see, that's happening under the surface. And so where our confidence is not where it could be because of what's happening under the surface. For instance, if you had a fixed mindset around, let's just say, you know what, I cannot do, like I have a fixed mindset around learning languages. I tell myself all the time, I can't learn a language. I just can't learn another language. That's not entirely true, but I tell myself that. I can't learn other languages. I would love to, but I just can't. So when I come across someone who speaks a different language, my confidence isn't as strong as it could be because I feel like I can't learn their language. And I have a fixed mindset around that. Now, a growth mindset will tell me, you know what, you can do anything you put your mind to. So stop it and just go and learn a new language, for crying out loud, and just go do it. and then, of course, my confidence in speaking to someone with a different language in their native tongue would grow because I've made the effort and I've put my own limiting beliefs aside and went and learned the language. I grew up with certain beliefs that I couldn't learn, that I was stupid, because I heard that over and over and over again growing up. I do have challenges with dyslexia. It was never diagnosed. In the 80s, they didn't diagnose that. They just called you stupid. So, and all my 80s peeps, you understand what I'm saying. Anybody in the 80s or below, they just called you stupid. So when I would have trouble reading, or I'd have trouble with math, because not only was it dyslexia, it was dyscalculia. So numbers were always jumbled up for me with formulas and numbers. I was just called stupid. I was just labeled as stupid, labeled as lazy, labeled as, I don't work hard. I don't try hard, because it was confusing for me, and it was difficult for me, and it was hard for me in school. So I was just labeled. And those labels created a belief about myself to me that lasted for decades until I realized, wait a minute, I can learn. I can learn. Oh my gosh, I am very smart. I have a really high IQ. I can do a lot of things. I don't always want to, but I can. And so I had to learn to shift those beliefs. So that's what I'm going to talk about next. How do you shift the beliefs that you have that created an identity for yourself that you're living in, that the behaviors that you're seeing in your public persona that's on the top are driving your bus. That's driving the ship, and you don't necessarily want it to be driving the ship. So how do you change that? Well, the first thing is becoming aware. Awareness is always the first step. You must become aware. Self-awareness is the key to any of these things. To changing anything, you must have self-awareness. So you have to recognize that something is off. You have to recognize it. Like, why do I keep doing the same thing over and over again? Why does this keep happening to me? So once you become aware of it, then you can change it. Then you can start the process of figuring out, how do I change this? What do I do to change this? Another part of this is understanding what triggers these behaviors. What triggers this identity to come out? What beliefs do I have that is triggering me to do these things or feel a certain way? What triggers me to have this feeling of unworthiness? What's triggering me when someone asks me for a price for something that I feel unworthy, and I discount my prices, or I give away my stuff instead of charging for it as a business owner? What unworthiness? Where's that core wound of unworthiness or this need to be loved that's driving that? Right? So start understanding the triggers. Like I said, way back when I was a kid, I wanted to disappear. And that was playing out in my business. When I would go out networking, when I would do anything, I would shrink away from people, from talking to people. I would shrink away from interacting with people. Now I stand out purposely. I purposely stand out because I want people to remember me. I have a business card. I'm going to pull up my business card and show you. I have a business card, and I use that as a way for people to remember me. I'm going to put it right here. So this is my business card. You've all seen my photo, this photo. I use this business card because when I reach out to people, when I call people, I say, yeah, it's the square card with the girl with the red dress on. You remember me? And they're like, oh yes, I remember you. What a great card. So I do things purposely now to shift the behavior that I had before so that I do stand out and I'm not forgettable anymore, right? So I understood what that trigger was. I understood what created that. And now I counteract it by doing something very different than what I did before. And then that kind of leads into my third point about this. How do we change these things? How do we change a wrong belief or a negative belief about ourselves in order to change and shift the behavior that's showing up? So that's part of unmasking that persona, unmasking that secret identity of ours. Well, we create an alter ego for it. Create an alter ego for it, which means you now create that persona that you want to show up as. You create the persona that you want to show up as so that you're not now defaulting to the behavior that was not the way you really wanted to show up or not the way you wanted to behave in a certain circumstance. Let's go back into business. Let's say you have to make sales calls and you're like, oh, I hate sales calls. I don't want to make sales calls. I hate cold calling. I don't know. Oh my God, when I get on the phone, it's just like, oh. Well, why don't you create a persona that loves doing calls, that just crushes a sales call every time. I mean, there's a lot more steps into this, and we go into a little more depth whenever I teach or train on this. You know, if you want to actually step out and know how to do this very purposely in your life, reach out to me, alicia360.com. Book an appointment to talk with me, and we can see how we can help you build a really successful alter ego that you can step into and create the persona that you want to that is the most powerful version of you. Actually, let me just say it the way it is. It is the most powerful version of yourself that right now you're afraid to step into. So let's build that persona for you. So let's say you want to be a speaker, or you want to charge more, you want to, whatever it is that you want to have happen, let's get together, do a consultation, and talk about creating an alter ego for yourself so that you can step into that. But there are steps to creating this alter ego for yourself that you can step into. And I did a show again on the alter ego and how to build your own alter ego. But the thing is, it's about creating the persona on paper, creating that persona, understanding the strengths of that persona, that person that you want to show up in a powerful way. So you create that, and then you have to step into it. So you have to create it, and then you have to step into it. So it's a two-step process. The stepping into is where you have to become emotionally involved in that persona and really take on the attributes and the characteristics of that persona. And I've said it before that there are three main reasons for building an alter ego. And I will go into this into more depth. I am a guest speaker for the Global Society of Female Entrepreneurs later this month. So if you want to know more about that, because I'm going to go step by step in depth into that, follow me on social media. Again, go to alicia360.com. Follow me on social media so you'll get all the details of how to be a part of that workshop, because I can't go into all the steps right now, but I'm giving you an opportunity to join me during that event. So connect with me, send me a DM, ask me how can I be a part of the GSFE workshop that I'm doing, and I'll send you the details, okay? But the three main reasons for building an alter ego is that it protects your fragile ego from being, I guess, from getting hurt or bruised by someone else's comments about you. So it protects you. It suspends your disbelief about yourself. Remember, we're talking about self-belief. So building an alter ego actually suspends your disbelief about yourself, that you can't do certain things, or who am I? Who am I to do that, right? It suspends that. And then it really unlocks hidden talents that you didn't even know you had. So it's a really powerful exercise to do for yourself. And I will see if I find the show. There are two shows now I have to find for you, the one about mindset and the one about alter egos, and see if I can link it into the chat, into the show notes at the bottom. But follow us. If you subscribe to our YouTube channel, we replay this, and the links will definitely be in our YouTube channel description. So make sure you give us a follow and check it out. But I hope this has helped you in some way. If not, at least build some awareness around where your belief level about yourself really is, and how does it match up to your confidence. Really think about that, where my belief about myself is and where is my confidence in that particular arena, because that will tell you, it'll also show you why you're getting the results that you're getting. Okay? So with that, I want to encourage you to be bold, to be brave, and every day to do one thing to step out with audacious confidence. Until next time, this is Alicia Couri signing off on another episode of Unleash Your Audacious Confidence here on Win Win Women TV.